Okay, let's go ahead and do a thing.
What thing?
Turn it on.
It's been on.
It's been on, so you just been recording me doing stuff. We're gonna make some donuts today. Got everything laid out here, and I'll kind of just go through what it is as we go. So I've got about a half a cup of warm water. Gonna put it down into the bowl with my stand mixer. I have fast rise yeast here. What I'm gonna use is approximately 2.5 tablespoons. You don't have to be exact on this, but most of the time, if you buy a packet, which is the most common, it's going to be 1 packet. And we're just going to sprinkle that over the top of the water here. So we've just put about 2.5 tablespoons worth of yeast into our warm water, and we're just going to leave it alone for about 5 to 10 minutes until it starts to get nice and foamy. Alright, so we're back. We've allowed our yeast to begin to proof just a little bit. This is instant yeast, so really this step normally isn't necessary, but in this case it just helps us to know that it's active and make sure that it's going to work to rise our donuts. So this was already proofed in warm water. So what I've actually got now is 1.5 cups of lukewarm milk. It doesn't have to be hot, and it doesn't have to be warm like the water does, because it's just going to be just warm enough to not kill the yeast. So I'm going to go ahead and dump this into the bowl of the stand mixer. I always like to put my liquids in first. Some people will do the liquid separately, add the dry first, put the liquid on top. That's really a preference thing, but this is how I like to do it, and this is how I would recommend starting. So here in my bowl, I have 5 cups of all-purpose flour. This is just measured by volume, just with a measuring cup, level it off. Do it like that. So I have about 1/3 of a cup measuring cup, and I'm going to put just approximately about maybe 1/4 of this total mixture into the bowl of my stand mixer. I have a 1/2 cup of sugar. Dump that in there. A teaspoon of salt. Two eggs, and I have a 1/4 cup of shortening. This is just vegetable shortening. You can use Crisco, whatever brand works for you. It uses approximately 1 glob. How much does it actually take? Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and just put the head of the mixer down, lock it in place, and we're going to put it just on stir for the moment, just to start to incorporate these ingredients together. We're basically going to do this just until the flour disappears from view. Once the flour starts to get incorporated where you can't see it. Then, we're going to go ahead and turn it off. Alright, so I'm going to gradually start adding the rest of my flour into the bowl. Just going to do another good couple scoops. Now what we're going to do here is keep doing this with the paddle attachment until it gets to the point where it can't do it anymore. And then we're going to switch to our dough hook. So right now what it's starting to do is beginning to form almost a batter. So we're going to add some more flour until it starts to form more of a dough. Alright, starting to hold its shape a little bit better, getting closer to a dough. Alright, at this point I think it's a good idea to go ahead and take this off. We're going to switch to our dough hook. Lock it in place. This time I'm going to set it to about, if you're using a KitchenAid stand mixer, you're going to put it on about 2. Just going to let that do its thing for a minute. Alright, so now all of our flour that we've added so far has been incorporated. I'm going to go ahead and tilt this up and start adding a bit more. It's also worth noting now that donut dough is very sticky. It's going to be much stickier than any other bread dough. Whether you've made bread or not, just keep that in mind. This is going to be a sticky dough. It's supposed to be. At this point, we're going to go ahead and dump in the rest of the flour that we have in our bowl. And we're just going to turn on the mixer and leave it alone until the point when the dough starts to pull away from the sides. Yes, my table is shaking everywhere. It's okay. So as you can see at this point, the dough is not really completely holding its shape. It's not, like I said, it's not going to with this. But as you can see, as it goes around, it's starting to pull away from the bowl. It sticks, but then it pulls away. Sticks, then pulls away. Right here, that's done. So I'm going to go ahead and tilt up the stand mixer. I'm going to get a rubber spatula to scrape with. Don't touch it. Got my rubber spatula here. As you can see, it's sliding nicely off of the dough hook, which is really lucky. It usually doesn't do this. If you're lucky, you don't have someone who thinks that they know better than you, trying to stick their hands in it all the time. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take this big ball of dough, we're going to turn it out onto a floured work surface. I've got a big wooden cutting board. It works great because I put my KitchenAid over here. Got the room for the flour right there. Just going to try to scrape that all out there. It's going to stick to the bowl a little bit. That's why I like to have a good sturdy rubber spatula or silicone, whatever it might be for you. I'm just going to scrape all of that dough out of the bowl. We're going to flip our dough over so it's fully coated in flour. Move the flour around a bit. And we're basically at this point just going to kind of take it and shape it into a loose ball. This is going to help it rise in the next step. So what I'm going to do now is take the bowl that I had measured my flour in. It's already got flour, so it's not going to stick. Dough ball's covered in flour. So we're just going to take it, put it right into the bowl. Got some plastic wrap here. Just going to cover the top. And I'm going to leave it alone about, I'm using fast rise yeast, so this is probably going to take you anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour. But way more important than the time is we're going to wait until this ball of dough has approximately doubled in size. So you want to be checking it every so often. What I like to do, wait half an hour, and then after that half hour, check it every 15 minutes. What that'll do is you can keep an eye on it and make sure it gets to the right step. So with that, we're just going to leave this alone for a bit, and we'll come back when it's risen. Thank you. Okay, so we're back here, and our dough has doubled in size. For me, it's been about 45 minutes. We've got it right here, so what we're going to do is we're just going to gently press it down to let out some of the air. I'm not going to punch it down real hard, I'm just going to press it like this. So we're just going to take this, just kind of fold it over a little bit. We're going to spread our flour out on our board a little more. Gently press it down, just a little bit. So now we're going to take a rolling pin, give the rolling pin a bit of flour, then we're just going to gently roll it out. So we're just going to roll this out to approximately thin.
Approximately thin. How thin is the approximately thin?
Well, this might be close to 1/4 of an inch. If I put my finger here, it's just to the first joint of my, well, in between my fingernail and the first joint of my finger.
Close to about 1/3 of an inch.
Maybe about 1/3 of an inch.
Okay, so 1/3 of an inch.
So what we're going to do is we're going to start going around, cutting out the big ones.
Yeah.
And we're going to try to get these as close as possible because we want to get as many cuts out of this as we can. So we're going to go ahead and start moving along with our cutter. Straight down. If it were biscuits, I would tell you do not twist. But for donuts, it's okay. I go straight down. Just a little twist. It's good to go. But I'm going to go around now with a small cutter. Center it in each one. Cut out our donut holes, which are honestly the best part of the donut. So you can just sit there and eat them. No restriction. If you remember, we used rapid rise yeast, and with it, after your first rise, every rise that comes after it is going to be much faster than what it would with just your standard dry yeast. So in doing that, it's only going to take us maybe 15 to 20 minutes for our second rise. We just want it to poof up a bit. It's going to finish its rise inside of our hot oil, which we'll get to in a minute. So I'm going to add approximately 2 cups of confectioner's sugar. This is very forgiving because we're going to adjust it as we go anyway. In this small saucepan, I'm going to do it about like that. Try to get it back in the bag without dumping it all everywhere. I'm just going to set it down. How about that? Just going to whisk that in. It's going to make almost like a paste to start with. At this point, I've turned my heat down to low because you really only need just a little bit of heat. Butter's already pretty hot. Alright, so now I've got my water. Going to add just a bit in there to start with. This is just going to be to thin it out just enough to where our donuts, I'm going to splash it out, to where it'll easily coat the donuts, but thick enough that it's going to harden up a little bit after they cool. So we're basically just going to do this until all that butter and water gets incorporated. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and add in a little bit of vanilla. I usually just add a small splash. This stuff's really concentrated. So that right there, just a couple of drops is really all you need. Just going to whisk that in there. Alright, so we're going to take our metal turner, get it under a donut very gently because we don't want to deflate it. Lower it into the oil. Get another. Paper towel on a plate.
Yep.
Slotted spoon, or actually this is a skimmer if you want to be more technical with it. I'm going to remove each donut. Let it cool. And we'll get our next batch going. I'm going to sit here and try not to tick off this scalding hot, beautiful, if I have to praise my own work, donut. Feels like it's going to be nice and fluffy. These donuts are fried, obviously. And honestly, if you're going to eat a donut, don't hold it back. Sometimes the donut holes want to be a little bit of a different kind of hole, so I'm going to use these tongs to try to turn it over. These ones just really want to be that way. So I'll tell you what, let's ignore those because we don't want our other donuts to burn for the sake of these other ones being even. And we're going to try to work quickly here. That way we can start glazing our donuts while they're still warm.
Got the badass socks going on.
Oh yeah. Best way to look manly is to wear Zelda socks and make donuts on that. We have a ton of donut holes here. These are easy when you really just want to kind of snack on them. They're small, pop them in your mouth, you're good to go.
Well, those are not small donut holes.
No, they're big for donut holes, I'll give you that. Alright, so we've successfully made some donuts, even though I didn't record the glazing part. Basically what I did is I allowed the donuts to cool a bit, dipped them into the glaze, arranged them here on the plate. All my donut holes are over here. Unfortunately, some of them the color came out a little bit unevenly. It doesn't matter though, because these little things right here taste good. That's what we're looking for. Consistency and the color is good, but I actually kind of like the contrast of crusty on the bottom. A little fluffy on the top. I usually got the glaze all over them, so it's good. Play with this. Do what makes it work for you. You know, if you want to make the donut dough sweeter, if you want to do more glaze, whatever you want to do with it, it's fine. We've got some work to do eating these now, so. Anyway, I hope that worked for you. Let me know how this works. We're just kind of getting used to this whole video deal, but at least we're showing you the best we can. Thanks for watching. Enjoy your donuts.
Chef Pay's in frame too.
Oh yes. Executive Chef Pay here, overseeing the operations of our kitchen, since she is in fact the boss. I guess. You thought this is informative, but you're wrong. It's comedy.
The following morning, Chef Pay stole some donuts for her own purposes. First, she made some crispy bacon.
Then she mixed confectioner's sugar and pancake syrup to make a glaze. The donuts were dipped into the maple-flavored glaze and then into the crumbled bacon. Maple bacon donuts, part of an artery-clogging breakfast.